everybody, it's Dr. Cindy with the Positively Altered podcast. I am your favorite, I've become your favorite, chiropractic internist and nutritionist. We're here, we discuss all things health related, physical, spiritual, emotional, business, personal, anything that's not on the list, it's fair game here on the podcast. Today is no exception. I am super excited to have Sophie Shepherd back with us. So no secret when you come back from the break, but she was invited back intentionally because she makes minerals fun and everybody needs minerals. We need to talk about some of these things and we're getting it wrong. We're going out, we're buying things. We don't know how to take it. We are not educated in ratios. We don't know the side effects. And today we're going to talk about some of her favorites and maybe one underrated where we can learn a little bit more about minerals that are so essential to feeling good. So we're going to take a quick break, listen to our favorite sponsors. We will be right back with Sophie Shepherd.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? Hey everybody, it's Dr. Cindy again. We are back from the commercial break and she is back. Sophie Shepherd is back with us on the podcast, founder of She Talks Health. Sophie, you know why you're back? Because I'm learning to love minerals.
Oh my gosh, yay! My mission is complete in the world.
Right? Okay, podcast is over. We're done. I love minerals. That's all we needed today because you love to talk about minerals. And I'm super excited because hopefully we're going to hit some things today that we didn't hit last time. And I have some clinical challenges for you I want to throw at you if you're up for it.
I'm always up for that.
All right, so let's start here. Ready? Here, I'm going to just throw some questions and then you get into the dirt as much as you want to, no pun intended, because some of the minerals are actually found in the dirt.
In the dirt.
Okay. I didn't even plan that. That just came out naturally.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I'm just that, we're recording today on a Friday. I'm just that gifted on a Friday to be that creative. So other days, not so much. All right. Ready? 3 favorite minerals. Go.
Potassium, magnesium, iodine.
In that order?
Maybe magnesium goes first, and then potassium, and then iodine.
Okay. Tell me your favorite things about each of those minerals.
Yeah. So I would say, let's start with magnesium. It's probably the most popular one, and it is for a good reason. I mean, magnesium is critical for so many enzymatic functions. We used to say 300. Now I think it's closer to like 3,000. But I have been running this HTMA on so many people, and I also was mentored by Lisa Patel at Vicon, and she looks at 2,500 HTMAs in a year. So I've seen a lot of HTMAs, and I will tell you, I can count on one hand how many people have enough magnesium. So that's how like often it's depleted and how important it is for function in the body. Magnesium is my favorite mineral because it has such a direct and usually quick effect for folks. So we're living in high stress times. A lot of people are dealing with insomnia, muscle pain, fatigue, and high stress and anxiety. And magnesium is an antidote for all of those things. I don't want to say it's a panacea because that's no one thing can fix us all, but there at least are some people who, when they start taking the right types, that's a whole other thing, of magnesium, they just start to relax more, their muscles relax, they can sleep better, their anxiety goes down. And we all know, most of us that are good at our jobs here in the natural health space know that if we aren't in parasympathetic, if we're not in the rest and digest part of our nervous system, we cannot heal. So I don't care what type of detox we're doing or what kind of fancy parasite cleanse we're doing. None of that matters if we're not regulated or if we're not able to find regulation. And magnesium is one of those minerals that helps the most. So that's my magnesium rant.
Okay, before we go on to the potassium iodine rant, because I want to hear those, run me through the different forms of magnesium, because I think there's a lot of misinformation, right? Everybody. So now you say magnesium, and here's what's going to happen. There's going to be two people that run to their health food store and they just go buy any old magnesium. And that's not a good move. So run me through the different forms, why you might use them. So at least if they are going to just go run to the store, they can at least try to get the right form for what they're dealing with.
Yes, great. I'm glad you asked because I was like, I got to talk about that now. Because inevitably you'll get the wrong one and then you'll poop your brains out. So here's the deal with that. So don't do citrate or oxide if you are not constipated. If you're constipated and you really need some sort of a laxative effect, those are okay temporarily, but those are not great sources of magnesium, meaning they don't really like absorb well in the body. The better options are going to be L-threonate, glycinate, or malate. Those are my favorites. They're all a little bit different. Malate's better for like energy. Glycinate's better for muscle relaxation, sleep. You're just kind of like calming down the body. Glycinate has glycine. Glycine can be used for trauma. If you've had a lot of emotional trauma, right? Glycine helps regulate the nervous system. So magnesium glycinate for regulation, for calm. And then threonate I love because that gets right through the blood-brain barrier and helps with the brain. So if you're like super anxious, you're not sleeping well, you're needing some brain support, threonate could be great as well. And so those are the three that I usually tell people to do. And I do have episodes about magnesium on my podcast. So if anyone wants to check those out, episode 157 with Dr. Carolyn Dean. I mean, come on, she is the mineral queen. I like to call myself a mineral queen, but she's been in the game for like 40 years and she has just a lot to say about magnesium. So that's a really good one. And I can't remember how far back. I don't want to waste our time like trying to look for the episode number, but I have a whole episode about magnesium too if there's any more questions about that.
Send that to us. We'll put it in the show notes. But I love that you're both queens, but she was a singing queen clearly because you gave a little tune underneath that. When
I'm in choir. I did my first solo last month and yeah, I'm a singer now.
So I think you should get that on, like when you say you're a queen, I think you should incorporate a little vocals.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I do. I think that's going to elevate your game, Sophie. All right. All right. At the end, I might have you sing something about yourself. So let's see if we can make that happen. Okay. Really quick before we go on to, I have one funny thing I have to tell you. So, I do a lot of presenting and teaching, and magnesium happens to be one of my favorite things to talk about as well. And as you all know, I talk very fast, right? Like people think I'm from New York and I'm not, but I am. New York, it's dumb rap for talking fast, but they do. And I used to say magnesium 3 and 8 so fast that I've had doctors come up to me and go, like magnesium 3 and 8. I've never heard of magnesium 3 and 8. And I'm like, no, 3 and 8, like one word. And then I have to spell it out. And I'm like, oh, I really do talk too fast because they're looking for a form of magnesium that doesn't exist.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. 3 and 8.
3 and 8 magnesium. So please do not ask your favorite physician for magnesium 3 and 8 or at the health food store or wherever you get your good products because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good call.
Okay. Potassium. Tell me what, okay. Should I eat a banana? Should I eat a banana every day?
You should not only eat a banana, but you should be eating all sorts of potassium-rich foods. We need around 5,000 milligrams of potassium in a day. And if you look up that for a banana and avocado and those things you think about, it's not even going to come close. So at least a banana a day, but many, many other potassium-rich foods are just essential. Potassium is like the unsung mineral hero. That's why I love it. I feel like it's like the underdog. I'm like, come on, let's talk about this, because it's just like people don't talk about potassium, but we need so much of it, and it does so many things in the body. I focus on women's thyroid health, so Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, just thyroid in general, and potassium allows for thyroid hormone and other nutrients to get into the cell. So in an HTMA test, there's actually a calcium to potassium ratio, and that looks at how well are those nutrients going to actually absorb into the cell. So you could have a perfect thyroid panel, right? In blood work, maybe you have TSH and all these other markers that you have and they're optimal, and you're told you don't have hypothyroidism, but you can have essentially like a hypothyroid. I'm using air quotes because it's not an actual diagnosis, but like a hypothyroid at the cell, meaning that like that thyroid hormone that you're either taking or making is not making it all the way into the cell for absorption. So you'll end up with all those symptoms or the feelings of hypothyroidism, even without the diagnosis. You'll have the hair loss, you'll have the constipation, you'll have the dry skin, you'll have the sluggish metabolism in general, right? The depression, the fatigue, because you don't have enough potassium and you have too much calcium. And I see this all the time. People are like, oh, I have osteopenia, I got to take calcium, but they're not taking any of the cofactors with it. Or they're low in vitamin D, which is a whole other episode. Don't even get me started on that. There's like an epidemic of this like overprescription of vitamin D without cofactors, without thinking about that vitamin D wastes potassium. So if you are wasting your potassium with vitamin D and your calcium's through the roof, and you're like, why do I feel so sluggish, hair loss, depressed? It could be that you have a potassium deficiency. So dizziness, muscle cramps, muscle weakness, mood changes, fatigue, skin issues, all can be, heart palpitations can all be from low potassium. Actually, it's so important to get enough potassium.
So do you think, and I'm going to allude to what my opinion is, but do you think this is why sometimes people present, especially women, but people present with symptoms of low thyroid, and yet it doesn't appear as though the test shows hypothyroidism, but yet they have all the symptoms of it because we're not looking in the right place and we're missing that mineral?
Maybe not like unilaterally, like there's other factors. I think a big part of it is that most medical doctors don't run a full thyroid panel too. So like we're looking, a lot of people are running TSH, which is a brain,
right.
not the right marker. So there's that piece of it too. But yeah, I see it probably 9, I want to say 10 out of 10, but it's not quite 10 out of 10, but it's like 9 out of 10 times that I see that happen. And the thing is that potassium and sodium are electrolytes, and they sit on the inside and the outside of every single cell, and they create the electricity for our cells. Like there's a huge piece of that's part of our energy system and our nutrient absorption system into the cell that people don't really understand. And so they'll have this chronically low sodium, chronically low potassium, and they have no like get up and go. They have no oomph for life because they have no like electricity basically in their system. They have very low, they're like kind of their reserves are really low.
Right.
And so that will really present a lot of times feeling like that hypothyroid symptoms.
Okay. So I think there's a big push, especially in social media, for just popping electrolytes. I do believe there's some good ones out there. I think there's some really lousy ones out there. I think there's different balances of them. Give me your opinion on like, do we just run out and buy an electrolyte powder, and how much of this should we be sucking down, or what kind of danger are we getting ourselves into if we do that without really knowing, to your point, the balance that we're trying to achieve?
Yeah. I mean, test, don't guess. I had, an HTMA lab review call this week, and the woman was actually pretty rare. She actually had really high sodium and really low potassium. Normally I see low potassium, low sodium. And if you're really chronically fatigued and dealing with some of those symptoms, I would say it's like a fairly good guess, right? But like, I would say like, if you really want to know and get where you're going, just get the test done. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's just going to help us get more specific. But I do think that there's some good electrolyte companies out there. I think it's just that people typically, like a lot of people are like on the Element. I think there's a lot of people that popped off this train because of the citric acid controversy, but like a lot of people doing Element, which is fine. but it's like it's a sodium electrolyte. It's not really a potassium electrolyte. I think it has like 200 milligrams. So if we're talking about you need potassium, like we can kind of max out at like around 1,000 milligrams, 1,200 milligrams of potassium in supplementation, and then everything else really needs to come from food. So that's the other thing. I think electrolytes. I typically tell clients to grab like an adrenal cocktail or an electrolyte with their mineral blends that I make them and with the nutrition changes that I give them, because like, we're not getting health out of a bottle, but sometimes people are so like, most people come in, their potassium's a 1 and it should be at 10. So they're like all the way at the bottom of the barrel. So I'm like, you got to fill up the barrel a little bit with some electrolytes.
Yeah. I love that. Can we overdo on some of these minerals?
Yeah, totally. You can totally overdo. If you do too much salt, you might feel edema, you might have PMS, swelling in the breasts, just like feel really angry or like hot tempered with too much sodium. And then if you have too much potassium, it's really dangerous for your heart. So you need to be really careful. That's why I say like I max people out at like 1,000 milligrams. I'm like, just everything else needs to come from food. And then magnesium, really, you could have some like water in your colon if you take too much of those magnesiums, but that's about it. You might poop your brains out if you have too much calcium or magnesium. And then other ones, like calcium is like a huge issue. People are taking calcium and I mean, I just can't. Like, guys, wait, no, let me talk to you about this. Like calcium is really sensitive and you have to be careful and you have to have cofactors. You can't just like blindly take it and not take consideration what helps them absorb, what are their synergists, what are their antagonists.
Calcium is so interesting to me. I mean, I've been in practice for 27 years. And when I first graduated, all we did was shove 1,500 milligrams of calcium down to everybody, especially if you were a female, especially if you had osteoporosis, predispositions. And, I grew up in the generations. You remember all the ads where you'd have the movie stars with the milk mustache and it's like calcium. And I'm like, okay, first of all, wrong place to get it. Second of all,
collect the magazines, the Got Milk magazine.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, again, wrong way to get your calcium. B, like, why are we shoving it down people? And B, and like C, which nobody asked, right? Like I'm always like, where's the logic in the world? Like, okay, we're pushing this huge campaign of milk and calcium, and yet everybody's still getting osteoporosis. So clearly it's not working. What are we getting wrong, right? And it took us like decades to go back and go, you're right. We still do have an epidemic of osteoporosis. So why, when we shove 1,500 milligrams of calcium down everybody, does it not work? And I think even today, now this is decades later, we still have people just pushing calcium without understanding that serum calcium levels at a high level don't prevent those disease states.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I see it all the time. And I think it's interesting how we were in an information age, right? We have more information than ever, but we're forgetting foundations, which is that nature creates minerals and I mean, in the right ratios. Like look at an oyster, right? It's like zinc and copper. That's another one. You have to be really careful, right? How much each, but an oyster has really beautiful levels of both, right? And B vitamins also. So when we start to extract these nutrients and pretend like they don't have synergists and antagonists and aren't like, it's like they're not alone and isolated, just like the body and the body parts aren't alone and isolated. They're still attached to the same person, right? Yes. And so that's where we get into trouble with that. I think in science where we're trying our best, we're looking at the raw data. Oh, calcium's good for bones. We just forget that you need vitamin K to drive it into the bone. You need magnesium and boron to help it retain. Boron helps calcium and magnesium stay in retention.
Yes.
Right.
And I think one thing I really want to drive home to everybody listening, right? If you don't work in this space, this is where I see a lot of challenges, because I'm not trying to talk you out of taking minerals, right? Or recognizing that they're important. So everybody listening, like, that's not what we're doing here. But this is why it's actually so complicated, because it isn't as simple as just walking into a health food store and saying, I would like 50 milligrams of zinc and hoping that you get it right in terms of the deficiencies. You really need to connect with somebody like Sophie, myself, or anybody else out there that has some education, who can really understand the relationships, the ratios, the interactions, and the results that you're trying to achieve, because it isn't as simple as just go to the store and get a mineral. So, okay, soapbox commercial over for that, Sophie. I just wanted to be really clear. We got iodine. Let's talk about iodine.
Yeah. It's hard for me to choose, to be honest with you, but I was like, you know what? Let me go for this, because people think they're so scared of iodine and they think that they can't take it. And I'm like, let's dispel that myth. So iodine, everyone listening, open our ears. Iodine is essential to make thyroid hormone. It is essential for fertility. It's also very helpful for detoxification. So if you have fibrocystic breasts or fibrocystic ovaries, you're having cysts, or you have thyroid issues like low T4, low T3, you may have an iodine deficiency. And actually it's been demonized. Don't take iodine. Oh my gosh, iodine. There's all this controversy over iodine. I'm like, what? We know, same thing as we know how to do it properly, then you're not going to be worried about it being a problem. So iodine is combined with tyrosine to make thyroid hormone. Okay, so when you look at your thyroid panel, like T4, T3, that's going to contain 4 molecules of iodine, 3 molecules of iodine. Iodine deficiency can cause hypothyroidism, and a goiter. And because we don't use iodized salt, which I wouldn't recommend anyway, because it's full of fillers and not great, we're not typically eating a lot of seaweed, which is another huge place that we get iodine in this, at least in the States. And a lot of people don't like fish. So most people are iodine deficient, actually. And
okay, stop there. I want to interrupt you really quick because this is important. How do we find out? Because there's the patch test, there's urine testing, there's hair testing, there's serum testing. Like, in your opinion, how do we find out? Because again, too much is not necessarily a great thing. How do we find out where we're really deficient?
So the way I like to look at it, honestly, if I had like all of my best, if I could oh, this is it. I like to look at the Hakala Labs urine test. I like to look at thyroid ratios and blood work. And then I would also really, really like to look at an HTMA. So HTMA doesn't actually have an iodine marker, but because of the concept we were kind of just talking about where, there's mineral synergists, there's mineral antagonists, iodine has those. And so we're able to look at ratios and markers on the HTMA to see if we suspect that there could be an iodine deficiency. So what we do with that is we look at and we say, okay, how many markers out of 7 does this person have that would indicate iodine deficiency? Also, you're not a piece of paper. So do you have cysts? Do you have period pain? Do you have thyroid issues? Are you fatigued all the time? Those could be clues that there could be an iodine deficiency. So we also I like to look at that too. And then with the iodine loading test, it's a little controversial and kind of a pain in the butt to do, but you basically take an iodine tablet and then you collect your urine for 24 hours and we're able to see how much iodine comes out in the urine and see if there's a deficiency. So we can also look at that, and we can also look at its relationship with halogens, which is what can displace iodine also. So that can be really helpful. And then I like to look at the thyroid, is someone's, what are the ratios telling me with the thyroid health, and looking at T4 and things like that. Are we even just getting the raw material? Are they super low? Could mean that we just don't have the raw materials to make thyroid hormone, which could be iodine deficiency. Now,
there's a lot of controversy. You have to be able to say it right in order to talk about it. There's a lot of, it's been my theme today, Sophie, actually, is that the words don't come out in English. So for everybody who's been listening to a couple of podcasts, it's been a continuation of Dr. Cindy doesn't know the English language. That's an episode in and of itself. There's controversy depending on who you read and who you follow when people are diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, autoimmune issues with thyroid. Iodine and no iodine. And there's the camp that says, don't touch it, will absolutely send you into a storm. There's a camp that says, absolutely, because again, most people are deficient in iodine. And then there's the camp, which sometimes I sit in because I've seen it work both ways. Sometimes I've seen it help and sometimes I've seen it hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't like to put my feet completely in one camp. What is your opinion on that? And what have you seen with people who have Hashimoto's autoimmune?
Yeah, so if you have TPO antibodies, you got to be really careful. Mm-hmm. My rule of thumb, the way I was mentored, was if the antibodies are above 60 or 80, very little iodine. Maybe you do it from kelp. Maybe you do 1 drop of Lugol's 2% iodine, really small amounts, because it can exacerbate the autoimmune piece of it. If it's the other type of antibodies, my understanding, my training is it's okay, but that's pretty rare. Typically people have TPO over the other types. So that's one really big consideration. The other thing is that people don't understand how thyroid and iodine work and what they freak out about the lab markers. So this is what happens. We have low iodine in the thyroid, which is where we absorb iodine. One of the places we absorb iodine. And then people take these mega doses and they see like crazy numbers and they feel terrible. And they're like, oh my gosh, iodine's terrible for you and don't ever do it. But what you can also, and I want to be careful not to give medical advice. Obviously, like you need to test and be working with someone and like be monitoring all these things. But there are cofactors that help the onboarding system of iodine. So you need salt, you need magnesium, glycinate or malate, you need selenium. Selenium's the most important. You need vitamin B3, niacinamide, and you need B2, riboflavin, and then you need vitamin C. So what I tell people is if I'm seeing like, hey, you have like a lot of markers for low iodine, it seems like you could have some low iodine, and you say they don't have thyroid, they don't have any antibodies, or I don't know, if they're just are clean, they just don't have any antibodies, but maybe they have hypothyroid or something. What I'll tell people is like, why don't you could try like having the iodine cofactors in the mineral blend that I make for them, be consistent with that for almost 2 months, like six weeks ish, like 1.5 months. And then you can add a little bit of iodine, like 1 drop, and see how you feel. If you swing and you get anxiety, agitation, insomnia, heart palp, iodine is not for you right now.
Yeah.
Right. And then if they have the thyroid antibodies, I don't go over 1 drop.
Okay.
So it's very, very small. If they if they're clear of that, I'll maybe go up to 4 or 5 drops, really slowly, like over 4 to 5 weeks. So we're not like just dumping this thing in. But here's the thing I want to say. This is super nerdy, but in about 50% of the cases, when you add iodine into the system, because of the way the iodine symporter works, you are going to see a rise in thyroid stimulating hormone. It could go up to 100. And that could be really scary if you don't know that that's going to happen. But unless the thyroid antibodies go up, or unless you're feeling awful on it, that is actually just your thyroid making space to absorb that iodine. And that's where I think people get really freaked out, which I totally understand. And everyone's individual and your risk tolerance and all those things. But what I've noticed is if you're just consistent and as long as you're feeling well and the antibodies aren't going high, that it's okay to play with that. And people tend to like get to this saturation level around like 6 months, and then the TSH just comes back down.
Yeah.
And they're good.
You said something I think really essential that a lot of people miss, and that was, are you feeling good? I find that out there in this space, and I do a lot of lab testing, so I love my lab tests, right? I love to see where the values are sitting and what's going on. But I also think that we make massive mistakes going, we need these numbers absolutely perfect by somebody's standard somewhere. And if you feel lousy with perfect numbers, we go, there's nothing wrong with you. Instead of saying, you know what, you're feeling amazing and these numbers aren't dangerous, even if they look scary, right? Maybe this is where you're supposed to actually sit right now. And I think you bring up a very valuable point I want people aware of is sometimes the numbers look scary to people because we're taught that once it's out of range, you should panic. And that's not necessarily the case. So for those of you that are under any sort of treatment, like your healthcare provider, coach, clinician, whoever it is that you're using on your team, please make sure that they're recognizing that how you feel is an important part of the evaluation of whether or not things are working.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that. I had a client once who she would retest her fat rate every 6 weeks, and she would use it as her determination of how she felt. And I caught it. I caught the cycle because she would be like, oh, I feel great. And then she'd get her labs and her T3 would be tanked. And she's like, I feel bad. And I said, hey, wait a second. It's more than that. It's just more than that. And that's, I mean, as an FDN, we're not doctors, but we are, functional health coaches essentially. And that's the first thing that Reed Davis taught us is like, this is not a piece of paper. You're talking to a human. How are they feeling? How does this correlate? Like, what are you seeing, the symptoms and the way the person's presenting with the lab? And then how can we make dietary or supplement changes from there and see how those also influence the person and maybe change those too. Like maybe it's, because the relationship with the body and the person is the most important for me, at least.
Yes. I mean, I have one of my favorite cases, and this goes back, 2 decades. I could not get her balanced and feeling good where her TSH was under 11. And by
Wow.
clinical standards, that's too high, right? But anytime we use the number to alter things, the rest of the hormones would tank. She would feel lousy. She just never felt good. And we finally had to get to a point where I said, you have to accept that this number is your normal, right?
Yeah.
Because she was so adamant on getting it under 2, but we just couldn't, right? The way it was signaled, the way she responded, the way her blood test showed. And we just got to the point where I'm like, 11 is normal. You feel great. Everything else is in check. There's no health concerns. And for decades, she lived feeling great, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And sometimes we have to recognize that just because we tell you it's supposed to be in this range doesn't always mean that's true, right?
I love that story. It's really reassuring for people to hear that.
Yeah. And we have to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to know now, you gave us 3: iodine, magnesium, potassium. Give me another one of your favorites that you think is so underrated, nobody talks about, and we need to write a book, right? I mean, we're not going to because we're busy, but what's the one mineral that gets ignored that shouldn't?
Boron.
Okay.
There's a really, really great article called "There's Nothing Boring About Boron." It's like an actual
Depends on who you ask, Sophie. I'm sure there are people who are going to be not interested in reading that article.
Yeah. It's hilarious that they actually called that. It's not a blog. It's an actual, it's on the NIH. It's actually so funny. But I think people no one knows about it. No one talks about it. But as I was saying before, it actually helps a lot with the kind of retention or the regulation of magnesium and calcium, which are 2 of our 4 macro minerals. And so it's critical for that. And actually people don't realize that your absorption of magnesium is dependent on boron and vitamin B6. And actually people take all this magnesium and then I test them and they're still deficient because they don't have any boron. So they're taking this magnesium and they're not absorbing it fully because boron helps so much with that. So that's one main thing. And many, many people don't know that. And the other thing is that boron kind of acts a little bit like a, maybe like a hormonal adaptogen. So it's really interesting. My mentor, she was going into menopause and then she started testing her, she was doing her HTMA testing and she realized that her boron was super low. She started doing her higher dosing boron and her menopause symptoms stopped. And as far as I know, she still has a regular cycle. She's 55.
Okay.
So this is really fascinating, right? Not to say we don't want to stop menopause, it's a natural thing, but it's just interesting. She's going through that process with so much ease because of, she believes, boron's effect on hormones.
I love it. And by the way, you're supposed to go through that with ease. Okay, Sophie, here's the deal. I have 4,000 more questions for you. Even before recording, we talked about a topic I wanted to get to that we're not going to have time to get to it. So I'm gonna plant a seed that we need the Sophie and Cindy show where there's a part 3 because you've already been a repeat guest, but I have to have you back because you know why? You know what you do?
What?
You make minerals actually fun. You kind of do, right? I'm oh, we're going to talk about minerals. Is anybody going to care? But I really I'm jazzed. I could do this for another 3 hours. We don't have 3 hours. Can I have you back again?
Of course.
Okay. Okay. So last question. I know Sophie's she's going to be oh my God, again, I have to carve out time for that.
Yeah, this is the best part of my day.
Oh my God, you're so cute. Okay. We'll make it. Yeah. I've got a couple guests that I really like to do this with because again, there's just so much good information. And what I love too is not only do you make it fun, which is okay, good, but you actually make it simple. So for those of us that don't have this knowledge and don't understand, and listen, I've got a lot of experience, but when I just even try to just sit and take what you share with me and I think about it from a layman's standpoint, it's so easy to comprehend, which I think is beautiful, right? Because this stuff shouldn't be complicated. And a lot of us as practitioners, we make it complicated and patients need to know the simplicity. Okay. So before we take our last commercial break, just a yes or no. Do we take a multivitamin and a multimineral or no?
No.
Okay. Oh, stay tuned. We're not going to tell you why. You have to come back to the Sophie and Cindy show, next version, round 3. Julie, behind the scenes, make a note that we're not explaining that so that we're going to leave you with the cliffhanger, the tease, right? This is in the movies where they show you the credits and then they show you the something else that happened knowing there's going to be a sequel. That's what this is, everybody. Come back for part 3. Sophie, will you hang tight? I have new questions for you to ask before we end. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Our sponsors are really important to us. We will be right back with Sophie Shepherd. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. stop, hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. All right, let's go. I've got some new questions for Sophie Shepherd. See, slow is good. Slow is good. Here we go. If you had to pick one holiday that exists that we had to celebrate every single day, what holiday would you pick?
Oh, like one that already exists?
Yeah.
Christmas.
You want Christmas every single day?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I'm like, I want the snow. I want the presents. I want the like downtime. I want the relaxation.
Okay, I have a request though. Can we make a rule that the people with the really obnoxious, big, huge plastic things don't get to keep those in their yard every year though?
Oh, you mean like my neighbor over there, Mr. Merriweathers, who has Snoopy and all these things, and his whole thing says "Happy Birthday, Jesus" on it. I'm like, it's just so many lights. I'm like, it's coming into my house.
The lights are pretty, but just there's a lot of plastic stuff that just needs to be recycled.
So much plastic. I mean, his whole yard is plastic. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure I just completely insulted somebody, but I don't care. I hate the plastic. So get over it if you're listening and you have plastic in your yard. I like you for other reasons, but not that.
She's sassy.
Okay. If you could be a character from a movie or a cartoon for the rest of your life, who would you be?
Oh, mermaid. Ariel.
Okay.
I would pretend when I was a kid, I'd be like, I'm a mermaid, and I would swim like a mermaid.
Oh my God, I love it. All right. One skill you don't have that if you could get it quickly without any effort, what would you like to have?
I would love, this is so specific. I would love to understand harmonies better. I've begun singing, and holding my harmony is so hard. And it's because how I'm hearing the music. And my husband's a performer, so he's been trying to teach me. But he said, like, if you had learned this when you were younger, it would be so much easier. And I'm like, I want to be able to pull out the harmony and then like make music from it. And I would say like with that, I would love to like have a skill of like a guitar or some sort of musical instrument.
Awesome. Well, when I get my magical fairy powers back, I'm going to make sure that happens for you. I'm working on those.
Yes.
What is the grossest food in the world? Do you like, for those of you not watching, she just made a face like she just ate it, whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm like, what is grossest?
Yeah.
Liver. So gross.
Oh my God. And from a nutrient standpoint, Sophie.
I know, but I have, maybe we can put this in the next one. I have a bone to pick with liver, with the beef liver craze.
All right, we're going to make a note. We're going to cover that in episode 3 of the Sophie and Dr. Cindy show. We will do that. Okay. So normally I would ask you what your favorite thing about the podcast was today, but we've done that before. So I have just a request, which I planted the seed. I would like for you to share how we get a hold of you, how we find you, how we work with you, how we learn more about you. And then when you're done with that, can you take us out like in a song from The Little Mermaid or...
I cannot believe you're asking me to do that. We'll see.
Right.
I'll do the first bit.
Okay.
Everything is She Talks Health. So if you want to do a deep dive into minerals, I have a mineral series. I actually can send you that link. It has like eight episodes on there just about minerals. But the She Talks Health podcast, if you're an information person, I do have a free mineral mocktail that I think I gave you guys before. And I also, in terms of working with me, if you are like as excited about minerals as I am, I can send you a direct link where you can get access to the test. You get an educational series of information, so you can start mineral balancing before you get your test and get those nutrients in. And then you actually get a call with me, a full video review, a full write-up, everything, and messaging support, all with this like bundle, so that you can get your minerals balanced. Please do it. I love helping you balance your minerals. So those are some of the places. And if you're interested in deeper work besides just minerals and really deeply working on your thyroid or some chronic stuff you got going on, I can send that to you. It's shetalkshealth.com/contact. And you can book a call with me complimentary and we can see how I can help you.
I absolutely love that. Please make sure you check it out. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get jazzed about minerals. I might forget about them in 10 minutes, but right now I'm super, super excited. You guys need to be too. It's so important. If you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on in my world, please check us out at drscindyspeaks.com. Shoot us an email at hello@drscindyspeaks.com. We love to hear from you. No matter what you want to tell us, just reach out. And if you haven't picked up the book yet, please do. Positively Altered. Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag, your favorite bookstore, or Amazon. You can even listen to it on audio if you haven't had enough of my voice. And by the way, I don't make mistakes because they make you re-record that if you have any mistakes. So there are absolutely no mistakes. Sophie, it has been an absolute pleasure. I am going to go ahead and do my usual closing where I say, I hope that this show has left all of you positively altered. But here's the deal. I'm going to give you a chance. You want to take us out in any song, a verse?
Oh my gosh, a verse?
Anything?
Okay, any song. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, hang on, give me 1 second. I got this.
Okay, this is me singing and dancing a little bit for you silently because I don't sing while she figures out what she would like to share with the world.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere. Hang tight. It is worth the wait. Miss Sophie Shepherd on stage.
Yes.
Positively Altered Podcast.
I'm gonna sing my solo. Ready?
Ready.
Hang on. Here we go. Okay. Holy Spirit, crack me open at the core so I can feel your love and your beauty once more. And if that takes heartbreak and if that takes pain, oh, I will be here through sun and rain. Oh, crack me open at the core. Oh, let me hear it all. Hear me roar as I open myself to the divine.
And if you would like to book Sophie Shepherd for your next barbecue, your next event, your next award ceremony, I only take 10% off the top. Here at the Positively Altered Podcast, you have heard it live. Sophie Shepherd, you are just a treat. We will have you back. And again, that song has left all of us positively altered.